it appears completely broke to them is because they use the main role. You know, so if you say, I'm going to stick to the standards and wait for Freedom Scientific to catch up, then yeah, you have to accept that some users are not going to be able to use that content anymore in a pleasant way. So that's why I asked the question, what's more important, standard compliance or something that works?
What role does analytics play in helping determine what actual combinations your users are using? Do we get any analytics about APs?
That guy there has a survey that is quite often used. Now you, Jared.
But I mean, for your own websites, you don't get any.
You can't feature detect which screen reader somebody's using. So unless it's a survey or something like WebIM does, which is very useful to
or
see.
Or if they're using a screen reader at all.
Yeah,
No.
there's a self-identification issue you don't want to.
No.
have with self-identification.
You don't want users to have to say, I'm blind and I'm using this or that. You can feature detect it automatically because of privacy issues as well, but also it's just a technical limitation.
But Hans, I have a question.
Sure.
So, I mean, there is a pragmatic answer to this, right? Meaning that I don't think standards compliance is the goal. I think real usability for people with disabilities is the goal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we are here for.
Mhm.
But Jared is completely right. You don't want to go down a black hole and tell the customer to spend oodles of money putting hack after hack in place and then having it not work with any, perfectly with any screen reader, for example. Because, and browser combinations, the permutations are crazy.
Yeah.
So, as long as you can document and have Freedom Scientific, for example, accepted to be a known bug, and with an identified fixed version, which I know is kind of crazy, but at least accept it as a bug. I think you can go back to your customer and say, well, screen reader bug will be fixed, and then use the concepts of progressive enhancement. Don't leave your user out in the cold. Do it with ARIA role name as well as something else, right? You can do that too. So
Yeah.
there are ways, pragmatic approaches to solve this problem. So I'm trying to be the optimist, Hans.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and that's what I've gotten more over the last year, more active with finding bugs with MPDA, voiceover, JAWS, and actually harass them about it to get these things fixed. So I'm hoping that if other people start doing that as well, rather than saying, oh well, JAWS doesn't work. If more and more people file bugs like this, it's going to be hopefully get fixed better as well. And now we're out of time. You want?
Basically consistency on a website or across a web application. If you have a main row on one page and not on the other, that creates a problem for you as well. So,
Yeah, consistency is very important.
Can I ask one question?
Sure, Don.
Don Evans from PP. Just like to get your opinion. If you had a customer who's got a public-facing website, no idea what browser, what AP you're going to come at, would you recommend a ARIA menu like the negative?
I've actually found myself getting rid of ARIA in some cases because it was so confusing for users, and they were just complaining about it. Support was varying across screen readers, and we said, well, maybe it is just easier to just have a standard list with links in it that you tab through, and the button indicates whether it's expanded or collapsed with some hidden text. So I have done that in the past. Unfortunately, it is the safest way. It doesn't expect users to do something different. Another thing, and that will be my last thing that I'll show. This is a, oh no wait, this is the wrong page. This is a drop-down menu that kind of tries to split the difference. So this is a menu that's marked up with ARIA, but rather than only allowing this this menu to be expanded with the arrow key, it also works on enter and space. It moves focus into the menu. You can use the arrow keys, or you can tab through it if you're not used to using the arrow keys. When you tap out of it, it automatically collapses. and it closes on escape and moves focus back to the button that triggered it. So that's kind of a combination of supporting both the new style and the old style. It's not always possible, but in this case it is. So this way, somebody who's used to Web 2.0 like area navigation, they can do that. Somebody who's used to tabbing through everything and pressing the Enter key to activate things, they can also do that. So sometimes you can find a combination, a hybrid. Sometimes you have to make it more simple. Sometimes you just have to accept that your learners, your users are going to have a learning curve to be able to use your modern content for intranet sites, for example.
Where can I find that example?
There's a link on the page that I just linked to. I'm not sure if it's, oh, that's still to my log. I'll change that afterwards. But this is the page associated to this.
So like, you could create a sort of mega menu, but just put in the area you want and not everything else, maybe just what works. Maybe
Yeah.
expand
You have to see-
or something.
You have to see what works for you, and
You could break the rules of all
Yeah.
that. basically.
well, especially with mega menus, which are just not really defined in the area spec. Like the area spec is really talking about
Menu bar or
menu bars like this one here. You know, like you see in your desktop. These area spec doesn't really define website menus like you usually see them for website navigation. They're kind of a different. Again, it's a different paradigm. So with mega menus and things like that, you have to be creative anyway. So you can experiment yourself. Hey, Paul.
All right.
Should I give a quick demo of the challenges?
Actually, let's give a round of applause for his talk. Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Yeah. So first is the tooltip one. This is Dylan's code base, which I downloaded. I'm going to turn on VoiceOver.
Reload. Heading level 1. jQuery accessibility hotspots. Deep JavaScript accessibility summit. Heading level 2. Presenter. jQuery tooltip default functionality. Link. Theme ruler. Tooltip content simulated from IAX.
So these are tooltips that appear after about a second.
Tooltips are also useful for form elements.
In VoiceOver,
Internal link.
those tooltips will still be read, even if they appear later. So I'm going to tap to this link.
Internal link. Tooltips.
Oh, didn't do it this time.
Link. Theme ruler. Tooltip content simulated from IAX.
So it reads the tooltip name.
Google Chrome.
But when I do this in a different screen reader,
PowerPoint slideshow dash. Left bracket jQuery underline A11 Y underline hotspots PPTX right bracket. Window.
that's the screen reader.
jQuery UI slider. jQuery UI tooltip dash default function.
I'm going to do the same thing in JAWS. When I tap to the link,
Tab.
Titles.
it just announces the tooltip link, or the link itself. It doesn't announce the tooltip content because it's added too late. So JAWS doesn't read things that are added as area described by unless it happens right away. So the first challenge is come up with a solution for this. How would you make these dynamically loaded tooltips still be read by the screen reader? The other challenge
jQuery.
is the slider.
Range slider.
jQuery UI slider dash.
Currently, it has no area markup at all.
Tab. Right tab.
Number.
Tab.
Number.
It just says number when I tap to it now. So what area markup can you add to the slider, and how would you label these controls? I should mention that I talked to the jQuery guys yesterday, and they're going to recreate the slider from scratch soon. So this would be kind of an example of what kind of area would have to go into that recreation of the slider. And the third one is a simple,
jQuery.
can basically be done for any widget, but we chose the accordion widget or the day picker widget. And that's basically come up with a contextual help mechanism like we've talked about. Are there any questions about any of these challenges? How do you want to proceed, Paul?
Okay. First, in terms of logistics, we're going to split into 3 groups, obviously, because we've got 3 challenges. One group, whichever group ends up being the biggest, is going to stay in this room. We have the other room where we had dinner last night, which is a long walk around. That's going to be the second group, second largest group. The smallest group, if there is one, if they end up being all equal size, we'll just have to kind of play it by ear. But we have a conference room upstairs in the DQ office that we're going to use as our third room. So that's just in terms of how we're going to break up. Before I get to the actual coding, I'll also mention that on the other side of the magic walls over there that open up, they're still closed, but we have some cupcakes. So at any point in time during the coding process, you can go grab a cupcake. Now there's not going to be like 5 cupcakes a person, so pick a cupcake. But we have some cupcakes over there, and you don't have to get it now, but I don't know if you want your first pick, I suppose you will. But anyway, you get the idea. So there's cupcakes over there. Why don't you come up, just because we're going to need to pick kind of leaders. We'll have projectors in each of the rooms, so someone's going to hook up their computer, do the coding on the screen, and then you can pass around the projector as necessary in the groups. Well, do you want to do the group organizing side of things?
So, I think we're going to try and do some first come, first serve. So any teams out there who want to nominate themselves for any of these particular solutions, put up your hands. Okay, what do you guys want to do? You're going to do the tooltip? Okay, so what do you want to call yourselves? Okay. Nick, Shay, I assume Travis, Liam. So where are you guys going to collect yourselves? So the way this is going to work with the teams, there's going to be core team members. Other people can go and just watch what they do, see how they fix it, see their thought process. So why don't you guys meet behind the magic doors? That's your meeting place. Anyone? I know they can meet there. We're just going to give people in groups so we can see how big the groups are first. So you guys go over there. Anyone who wants to join that team can go. Any other groups want to nominate themselves for a problem? Throw up your hand. No other groups? Okay, so then you have one group. Okay, so let's take the ARIA slider task. The slider. You do the ARIA slider. And what are you going to do? The slider group. Do you want to meet anyone who wants to join? Is it yourself and you have some other team members? Just you. Alright, so anyone who wants to join, what's your name? What's your name, sir? Holly? Anyone who wants to join Holly, why don't you guys meet right over there? And then the third one was the help, the contextual help. Anybody? Right, okay, so Paul, you're going to do that one? So Paul's going to work on the contextual help. So anyone who wants to join Paul, why don't we meet at the back of this room over there? So Holly, you want to meet your other team members? Sorry, down over there on the side. Yeah.
In the back of the room.
Contextual helps in the back of this room. Tooltips in the other room behind the magic doors, and then the slider one is over here on the right hand side, or your left hand side. Back in the room there, yeah. Anyone wants to join Paul's group working on the contextual help? Back in this room? So we just want to see how big the groups are. So first of all, you guys are big. You're probably going to fit in upstairs room.
I'm not real sure. I wanted to kind of see where people distribute and all that. Yeah, I'll probably check
So for those who are still milling around, pick a team so that we know how many people are in each team.
So we're going to do the small seats. It looks like the small seats go upstairs.
Yeah, so we'll have the slider team go upstairs, but just hold tight for a minute. We'll have the contextual help people stay in this room. They're about the same size. So for those in the cupcake room, you're going to end up walking around to the dinner area, and I'll help you do that.
Could you get one of like Travis or Nick or somebody to come in just we need to tell them that they're good for a presentation and make a GitHub. So hey Paul, you guys should create a GitHub repo with all your codes, and at the end there's going to be a 10-minute presentation where you're going to present what you've done. So each group's going to get 10 minutes to present, but try to put your code on the GitHub repo so we can actually download and look at it for judging purposes. Awesome. Oh yeah, you guys are going to stay here. Yeah, and by the way, the jQuery guys are there to help you. They can help you with understanding the code. They can help you with understanding how to write unit tests. They can, so they can understand you with any of the kind of mechanics of getting going with the jQuery UI code if you're not familiar with it. So they're going to be wandering around, but if you know you need that sort of help, you might want to just come up and grab them immediately.
You guys get a cupcake break? Yes. Make sure all the teams are all being handled properly.
I'm required. Especially this one. And it'll be like 3 minutes. It looks bad, but there's something about
It shouldn't, it won't, yeah. If you have an alert roll or ARIA Live, as long as the trigger, or as long as the screen reader registers that, it'll read it.
And that's the example that I'm referring to. All my it's like, hey,
Well, or when it's set dynamically. So you know, if you have a form that have real time error validation, you can set it so they give it roll of alerts or ARIA Live. It doesn't have to be like.
If we end up hitting one.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're remote or not.
We didn't give people suggestions.
Interesting little things with timing as to when it might be read. You know, if there's still typing, things like that, it may wait until it's done.
In auction, where they need to know time, what are the time limits, those kinds of things.
So what sort of things are we adding contextual navigation?
To a recording.
Okay.
Here are a few thoughts I had. I think it's pretty easy to just associate some sort of alt text to or have a screen or read it, right?
Yes.
That's easy. But I think you can make it smarter than that. Like, for instance, if you have multiples of a widget on the same page, if you want the screen reader, you can read that whole thing for every single widget. Or what would be more helpful is just have read the first time that it comes through. Like, even if you give me a carousel, if I tab to the page and come back, do I want to read this one, eventually will help. Again, so we might be making it smarter so that maybe it only reads the first time it's then on that. And I'm not sure I exactly heard what you said when do we make this screen reader only, or we might consider making this more helpful for everybody.
No, I think that's the point.
Yeah, if I'm a sighted keyboard user, I may not know how to interact with this either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the convention.
Somebody that for motor difficulties can't use the mouse and needs to know how keyboard navigation.
Right, exactly. If I'm just used to hitting tab and I want to get to section 2, I'm trying to tab to it, I can't tab to it. So is there a way to somehow provide that visual.
I would like do a tooltip that's spoken automatically to a screen reader, either through like ARI Alert or Server Collaboration, or add it to the accessible name or artist by.
There's a possibility that that's also intrusive, having the user have to specify that. Yeah, well, that's not, for a mouse user, it shouldn't be an issue. Something you want to consider, because I was wondering about, maybe for a keyboard user, maybe you show that tooltip, I don't know, I'm just kind of brainstorming here, like either on a delay, they tap that and don't do anything else for a matter of time, or maybe if they tap, maybe if they tap multiple times to that control without using the arrow keys. Does that make sense? Maybe make this up and use it, but you can't say, oh, they're not using it, so maybe trying to.
But if they tap to it and they just have, they would go to another place,
Right.
they would know they had a problem.
Right.
However, it's on the second class, we won't be able to guess that either. I think more idea of what happened during the week.
Yeah.
I think it's okay actually if we've always popped up the instructions, because can't they just tab away from it right away? I don't want to hear this tab.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're going to have to say like, do we track it with a JavaScript variable or user cookie or something different maybe? I've made the tooltip a lot better than just that it will be spoken automatically using an alert, but I don't know if we want an alert, because that's usually for more like warnings and stuff.
Well, I think they're most useful ones are kind of on
So it's just, a div or something with a alert. So that's pretty much what I was thinking, something similar to that.
We're currently on a link inside VoiceOver Off.
So then you can put those sorts of instructions in the title attribute, it just will never appear to keyboard people. Unless you had JavaScript that took that title attribute and injected it into a JavaScript tooltip or something like that.
So you put it in the title and show it in keyboards.
Well, titles never appear on Focus, so you would have to, like if you wanted to make a title appear on Focus, you'd have to use JavaScript to say on Focus, grab the text inside the title attribute value, spit it into a div, and then make it speak automatically or something like that.
I don't think you'd want to put this in a tooltip, because the only place, in the title, because the only place where title does appear is on mouse hover, and that's the exact not audience that we're trying to do. If they were to see it, the keyboard instructions, I don't think.
But what if they saw it and they're like, oh wow, I can do all this stuff with the keyboard, I've been using the mouse my
Yeah,
whole
but
life.
It's true.
So that's why we balance, not enough with
Yeah.
I think it's okay to put the tooltip in there so long as we're not going to expect the mouse hover to occur like frequently.
It could kind of get in the way, the tooltip could cover something else that's more position in this spot. So what are we adding tooltips to again, or instructions?
Yeah, it's, there's an example. From Hans list of links.
How's it going? Good, we're just
wondering if you have any of those.
Which group is this?
We're doing conceptual help.
Okay. So are you
So like
trying to tackle that on a single widget or in
on
general?
an accordion,
Okay.
yeah. So in this one, how do you tell a sighted user that they can interact with the keyboard?
Right.
But that was the other challenge, was to make this so it could be repurposed regardless of the
Which,
Solve it
in
one
2
spot
hours
first
is,
and then otherwise.
that's a lofty goal.
Yes.
We could just solve it the first time and then generalize after that.
Sorry. But yeah,
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'll just find us time.
yeah, I mean, accordion's probably a good one, because it's
Definitely
stable.
simpler than Date Picker, and it's gonna
Yeah.
stay the way it is, it's not gonna be changed
Right.
immediately, so that would be where I'd probably focus.
Okay, cool.
There's a lot less interaction there, so you can make a simpler model.
And accordions are hard, right? Because,
They're kind of like a tab list, if you
Right.
really,
so it's definitely, that's definitely a good, that's definitely another place where people would need help.
So you would add to an accordion and to go from one accordion to the next, you would have to tap.
No, you can use your arrow keys up and down, and then you can use space bar
What
to
about the
expand
content
it.
inside? Space bar under?
Well, sighted folks don't need to like get into that content unless there's a focusable element they want to tab to. They'll just read it.
No, but what if it is not just read-only, if there's a form inside?
And they would tab into it.
Yeah, once that appears, then they can read through and
It should be the next item in the focus order.
So that would be tabbing into rather than selecting, so it's like, it functions as a tab.
Which is what kind of what they were saying, there is no real ARIA definition for accordion.
yeah,
right?
in ARIA, they basically say for an accordion, it's a tab list,
There is
and
no
it
name of
function
the
as
accordion,
tabs,
right?
but it's not really a tab
Tab
list.
list, yeah.
Let me try to find these.
It's basically a tab list where the tab is the beginning of each content instead of a tab panel.
And then all the content
Right,
follows.
so it's kind of messed up, which introduces some interesting needs for maybe some perspective.
Should we just save this HTML file and add JavaScript or something?
You guys can use a projector. It might be helpful to see it.
Do you want me to hook up?
Yeah,
or
you want, no, I've got the,
Okay.
text slide,
Okay.
so I'll do that.
I'll hook up to it. Not sure when how to turn it on.
The black screen, just touch it,
Uh-huh, press the on button, or, oh, projection power on?
and it comes alive.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, thank you.
You're in business.
So are there certain elements that you guys get more requests for, you know, accessibility updates on? You know, is there, one, you know, a type of widget that stands out as most problematic for users?
I mean, to be honest, we don't get a ton of reports on accessibility, which is unfortunate.
You know,
There's like a few individual people that tend to send them in, and that's
Right.
about it.
Hans being one of them.
Same
Yeah.
all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say some of the ones that I can think of that we've gotten are the obvious one. I mean, like Date Picker.
yeah.
And Date Picker is just a mess that's actually almost fixed now. So we've got a branch where it's been completely rebuilt. Jörn, Zephyr, and Hans Hillen started it, and then one of the other guys on the UI team took it over and has it almost complete now. So and it's supposed to be much better. And it's actually based on the Widget Factory, so it'll be extendable and not the huge mess that it was before. The huge mess that worked, but yeah. So, but yeah, Date Picker is there's always stuff about Date Picker. Dialogue. Yeah, Dialogue is another one.
Yeah.
Because those are difficult to deal with, right? Because especially like mobile dialogues, it's like.
That's been one of the worst for us, just in general, mobile dialogues.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
there's so many.
But I would say, I mean, we don't, I would say we get maybe like one bug every couple months that's
Yeah,
accessibility related.
They're pretty rare. Mobile, we just got one the other day, and it was one that he actually brought up in his presentation, the cable one. Someone filed a bug on that just like 2 days ago.
The responsive table?
Yeah.
Yeah, that might have been Dylan because I was telling him about it. But he said something.
The problem is that's there to fix a bug in an actual browser.
Yeah, he said Safari 5.
Yeah.
Which I said,
Yeah,
We're
we're,
at Safari
we're probably going to reverse it by Safari 5, but at the time it was written, Safari 5 is the current version.
Yeah.
So one of those things you have to make a choice to support the browser at all. It had a weird bug where all the columns, every time you resized your window, the columns would shift over a little more, but until they were actually under the wrong headings and stuff, it was crazy. The projector has been weird ever since.
Like certain resolutions.
yeah, but even before
Yeah.
Hans was up here, he changed his resolution